Open her purse. My stepdaughter just stole the bride's emeralds. Monica Hart's voice cut through the string quartet so cleanly that the violinist's bow stopped in midair. 200 guests turned toward me on the stone terrace of a Napa Valley vineyard, and for one suspended second the only sound was water falling into the fountain behind the wedding arch. I stood near the dessert table holding a walnut picture frame I had carved for my stepsister, Camille. At 36, I owned a successful restoration studio, paid my own bills, and had learned how to negotiate with collectors twice my age. Yet one sentence from Monica could still make me feel like the unwanted 12-year-old who had taken up too much space in my own mother's house. Camille raised a bare wrist and pressed her other hand to her throat. Tears gathered in her eyes with the polished timing of someone who had rehearsed them. In a mirror. The necklace disappeared right after April walked through my dressing room, she said. It belonged to Grandma. That was the first lie. The emerald necklace had never belonged to Camille's grandmother. It had belonged to my mother, Elena Salazar. I knew every stone in it because I had spent years studying the last photograph of her wearing it, laughing in the courtyard of our craftsman house in St. Helena before cancer hollowed her cheeks. The center emerald had a fine fracture shaped like a bolt of lightning. After my mother's funeral, Monica told my father the necklace had been lost during the move. That afternoon, 22 years later, she had fastened it around Camille's neck in front of everyone. A legacy for the true women of this family, Monica had announced, looking directly at me. I had not reacted. I had learned that Monica collected reactions and spent them like money. Instead, I photographed the necklace from across the terrace and noted the time. Now Camille's throat was bare. Check the venue cameras, I said. I never entered her dressing room. Monica stepped down from the platform in a pearl-colored gown that probably cost more than my first car. She was 58, elegant, controlled, and practiced at making cruelty sound like concern. How convenient, she said. You know there are no cameras in the bridal suite. Empty the purse, April. At least don't force your husband to watch you get arrested. I looked for Ethan. My husband had arrived 40 minutes late, just as he always arrived late when my family had an opportunity to hurt me. He moved between the tables with his face pale and his tie crooked. Ethan, tell her this is absurd. He stopped beside me. His eyes went first to Camille's tears, then to the wealthy investors seated with Monica, and finally to my leather purse. Honey, he said quietly, if this was an impulse, just give it back and we'll leave. Don't make it worse. The terrace seemed to tilt beneath my heels. We had been married for 9 years. He knew I restored museum frames and antique furniture for a living. He knew I documented every object that entered my workshop and would not take a hotel pen without asking. He also knew what that necklace meant to me. Monica's mouth lifted at one corner. Your mother resented this family too, she said. In the end, blood tells. That sentence crossed a line I had spent half my life pretending not to see. Do not use my mother's name to cover one of your lies. Monica lunged. She caught the strap of my purse and yanked hard enough to drag me forward. When I held on, her nails dug into my wrist. Her free hand rose toward my face. For 3 years I had taken self-defense classes after a customer followed me from my studio one night. I did not hit her. I caught her wrist, turned my shoulder, and stepped out of her path. Monica's own momentum sent her sideways into a tower of champagne coupes filled with crimson hibiscus punch. Glass shattered. Red liquid spilled down the front of her pale gown and spread across the stone like a theatrical wound. The screams came all at once. She attacked my mother. Camille shouted. Ethan ran to Monica, not to me. April, what did you do? I stopped her from hitting me. You were 12 feet away and chose to watch. 2 security officers took my purse. I gave it to them because refusing would become another weapon. They emptied it onto a linen-covered table, wallet, keys, lipstick, phone charger, a folding ruler, and the carved frame I had made for Camille. No emeralds. The older guard looked at Monica. The necklace isn't here, ma'am. She hid it before we stopped her, Monica snapped. Mascara had begun to streak beneath one eye, but her voice remained certain. This woman has always wanted to take what belongs to us. Camille clutched her bouquet and cried against her new husband's shoulder. Rodrigo Vega did not comfort her immediately. He watched me with a crease between his eyebrows, as if some detail in the performance had failed to match the script he had been given. Ethan seized my arm just above the bruises Monica had made. Go to the hotel, he whispered. I'll fix this. I looked at his hand and then at his face. For our entire marriage, fixing my family had meant leaving me alone with the damage so everyone else could remain comfortable. Take your hand off me. He did, but only because people were watching. I walked out without saying goodbye. My heels sank into the gravel beyond the valet stand, and I finally pulled them off. I had reached my car when a young woman in black photographer's clothes ran after me. Miss Salazar. Wait. I recognized her from the camera crew. Her name was Lucia Torres, the daughter of Rosa, the housekeeper who had worked for my mother and stayed in our home until Monica fired her. Lucia glanced back toward the terrace and pressed a small memory card into my palm. My mom told me to find you if anything strange happened, she said. I was filming details of Camille's dress through the half-open door. I don't know everything, but your husband is in the footage. I inserted the card into the reader attached to my phone. My fingers were shaking so badly that Lucia had to steady the device. The footage began with lace, pearl buttons, and Camille laughing at something outside the frame. Then Lucia's camera shifted toward a mirror. In the reflection, Camille stood behind a curtain holding an emerald necklace. Monica placed a second velvet box into her handbag. Ethan entered carrying a blue folder I recognized from our kitchen counter. Once the scene starts, I'll take April back to the hotel, he said. She signs the sale authorization while she's scared. If she refuses, we use the assault video and the theft report. Monica answered with a soft laugh. Elena House will make a beautiful wedding gift for Camille. The resort group wants the land, not the old building. Your project fee clears the day we close. And April can't challenge it later? Not after she signs a statement admitting she's unstable. Camille stepped into the reflection and held the necklace against her throat. Do I wear the real one or the copy? Monica reached toward the camera's blind side. The copy. I'm not risking the real necklace around 200 people. The clip ended when someone closed the dressing room door. I watched it twice. The second time hurt more because Hope had stopped interfering with what I saw. My husband had not failed to defend me in a moment of fear. He had rehearsed my humiliation. Lucia took a folded envelope from her equipment bag. Mom said not to sell, sign, or hand over anything. She said Elena House was never your father's to give away. I looked up toward the terrace. Through the vines and white roses, I could see Ethan bending over the woman who had just destroyed our marriage with his help. They had not staged a theft to take a necklace from me. They had built a public collapse so they could take the last place where my mother's voice still seemed to live. Elena House sat on 7 acres at the edge of St. Helena, a broad cedar-sided home with a tiled courtyard, a carriage workshop, and a line of old olive trees. My maternal grandfather had purchased it in 1978. My mother grew up there, married my father there, and turned the carriage building into a studio where local women brought damaged furniture and family photographs. When she became sick, she taught me to mix shellac beside an open window because the smell made her nauseated. After she died, my father, Richard, told me the house would always be mine. Then he married Monica 11 months later. Monica never openly threw away my mother's things. She did something more effective. She moved each object a few inches at a time until Elena's life looked temporary. Photographs disappeared into drawers. Her hand-painted dishes were replaced by white porcelain. Camille, 2 years younger than me, received my mother's silver comb for prom because Monica said sisters should share. When I protested, my father called me possessive. At 16, I left for boarding school with 2 suitcases and a framed photograph of my mother hidden between sweaters. At 22, I returned to find the carriage workshop locked. Monica said moisture had ruined everything inside. At 29, when my father died, his will gave Monica permission to remain in the house, and Ethan urged me not to question it. She's grieving too, he had said. You don't want to look greedy. That was Ethan's favorite warning: do not look difficult, bitter, emotional, ungrateful, suspicious, or greedy. He never told other people not to behave badly. He told me not to name what they were doing. I drove south until the vineyard lights disappeared in my rearview mirror. Instead of going to the hotel suite Ethan and I had booked, I went to my restoration studio in an old warehouse outside Napa. I locked the roll-up door, turned on the work lamps, and sat at my desk surrounded by objects people had trusted me to repair. The blue folder in the video had been on our kitchen counter for 3 weeks. Ethan said it contained preliminary drawings for a boutique hotel. He was an architect, talented enough to impress clients and insecure enough to resent every success that was not his. For months he had pressed me to sell Elena House. He called it a decaying burden. He calculated property taxes at breakfast. He left brochures for low-maintenance condominiums on my desk. I had believed he was worried about money. In truth, he was calculating his payment. At 1:14 a.m., he called for the 12th time. I let it ring. At 1:17, a message appeared. You embarrassed yourself tonight. Monica is willing to keep the police out of it if you cooperate. We can still save this. At 1:20, another arrived. The house is marital property anyway. Stop acting like a child. That message gave me something grief had not: clarity. Ethan did not know the house was marital property. He needed me to believe it was. I photographed the bruises on my wrist beside a ruler. I copied Lucia's memory card to 3 encrypted drives. I emailed 1 copy to an attorney named Maya Chen, whose antique desk I had restored the previous year. Then I changed the access codes to the studio and to the apartment Ethan and I shared. Maya called at 1:42. Tell me you have not answered him, she said. I haven't. Good. Do not tell him about the video. Do not threaten anyone with it. Send me every deed, trust paper, will, tax statement, and insurance record you have. And April, if they are talking about a sale authorization, assume there is already a buyer and a deadline. The house was my mother's. My father said it would be mine. A promise matters emotionally. A recorded instrument matters in court. We find the paper. I slept for 2 hours on the narrow sofa in my office. At 6:10, pounding on the side door woke me. Ethan stood outside in yesterday's shirt, carrying the blue folder. I opened the metal security screen but kept the glass door locked. Monica won't press charges if you sign an apology and authorize the listing of Elena House, he said. His voice had the calm, patient texture he used when he wanted me to doubt my own memory. After what happened, this is the best outcome for everyone. For everyone, or for the hotel project she promised you? His expression changed for less than a second. It was enough. You don't understand what you saw. I saw my husband plan to call me a thief so he could sell my mother's home. He tested the door handle. Let me in. No, we need to talk privately. We are talking through glass because you used privacy to conspire against me. His patience cracked. That property is falling apart. You pour money into a fantasy because you think preserving chairs makes you Elena. Monica found a way for all of us to benefit. You would have fought it out of spite. I heard the contempt beneath the argument, old and well-fed. He had not become a different man at the wedding. The wedding had simply given him permission to stop hiding. You have until noon to remove your clothes from our apartment, I said. A building manager will supervise. Your key code expires at 8 o'clock tonight. April, don't destroy a 9-year marriage over one bad night. You sold it for a project fee. He held up the folder. If you refuse this offer, Monica is filing assault charges. The video shows her falling into broken glass while you stand over her. Camille will swear the necklace disappeared after you threatened her last month. I never threatened Camille. Who do you think a jury will believe? A bride with 200 witnesses or an angry stepdaughter who has complained about that necklace for years? He wanted fear. I gave him silence. Ethan leaned close to the glass. By tomorrow, you could lose the house, your business, and your reputation. Sign today, and I can make this go away. You should leave. You'll call me when Maya explains how exposed you are. The fact that he knew I had contacted Maya stopped my breath. Only 4 people knew she had ever been my client. Ethan had been reading more than the papers on our kitchen counter. I waited until his car left, then checked my email security. A login from our home computer had occurred at 1:38, 4 minutes before Maya called me. I changed every password again and sent the record to her. At 9:50, Rosa Torres arrived in a faded blue pickup with Lucia beside her. Rosa was 64 now, smaller than I remembered, but her back was still straight and her silver braid reached the middle of it. She carried a dented tin box against her chest. Your mother asked me to keep this away from Monica, she said. I thought I was protecting you by waiting. Maybe I was only protecting myself from a fight. Inside were photographs, an inventory of Elena's jewelry with serial numbers, a copy of a 1999 property memorandum, and letters tied with green ribbon. The memorandum stated that Elena House had been placed in the Salazar family preservation trust for my sole future benefit. My father had a right to live there. He did not own it. Why wasn't this with his will? I asked. Your mother's attorney kept the originals. Adeline Wynne. Monica told us Adeline died years ago. Lucia searched on her phone. There's an Adeline Wynne listed with a legal aid foundation in Sacramento. She's 78. My heart began beating faster. Rosa removed a receipt from a jeweler in downtown Napa. For days before the wedding, Monica had paid to repair an emerald necklace with the same serial number listed in Elena's inventory. The original stone had a crack, Rosa said. I cleaned it many times. The necklace Camille wore yesterday had a perfect center stone. Lucia enlarged the wedding photograph I had taken. Even on the small screen, the emerald was smooth. A replica, I said. Rosa nodded. Camille sent me this by accident 2 nights ago. I think she meant to send it to her mother. She played a saved voice message. Camille's laughter came first, followed by the clink of glasses. Mom, the copy looks perfect. But what if April doesn't bring a code or something we can hide it in? Ethan says we can make her sign with the video of you falling, but we still have to plant the real necklace somewhere. The message ended. There had never been a missing heirloom at the wedding. They had displayed a replica, hidden it, and planned to put my mother's real necklace among my belongings later. The accusation was not an impulsive cruelty. It was a machine, and each person I trusted had been assigned a moving piece. Maya arrived before noon. She listened to the recordings twice, then examined the memorandum beneath a magnifying lamp. This references a trust book and a recorded notice, she said. It may be enough to stop an immediate transfer, but not enough to establish every term. We need the original trust or a certified copy. I'll contact Adeline and the county recorder. Monica is giving Camille the keys at the post-wedding brunch today. Keys are theater. Adidas law. Theater is how Monica creates facts. If she tells 200 people the house belongs to Camille, by Monday every investor will repeat it. Maya studied me. What are you proposing? Let her give away what she doesn't own. On camera. That is emotionally satisfying and legally risky. So was trusting my husband. She did not smile. If you go, you do not touch Monica, Camille, Ethan, or any object they claim is stolen. Lucia records continuously. Rosa stays with you. I notify venue security that you have counsel. The moment anyone orders you to leave, you leave. I changed into a simple black dress and covered my bruised wrist with nothing. At 2:30, we returned to the vineyard. Ethan waited near the entrance. When he saw Maya beside me, anger flashed across his face. I told you this ends if you come back, he said. No, I answered. You said it ends if I stop obeying. Inside the barrel hall, Monica stood on a small stage draped in white roses and bougainvillea. She had changed into a gold silk suit. A square bandage near her collarbone made her look wounded without making her look weak. In light of April's painful behavior, she told the guests, our family has decided to protect its legacy. Elena House will become the home of Camille and Rodrigo, so love can replace decades of resentment. Uneasy applause moved through the room. Camille extended both hands. Monica lifted an antique brass key tied with a white ribbon. One moment, I said. Every head turned. Monica's smile did not move. Security, she said softly. My stepdaughter is unwell. Ethan climbed onto the stage with a document and a wireless microphone. April, sign the authorization now, he said. If you cooperate, no one needs to see the recording of you attacking Monica. Lucia connected her camera to the ballroom screen. For 3 seconds, Ethan appeared in the bridal suite mirror handing Monica the blue folder. Then the screen went black. The lights stayed on. Someone had cut only the projection feed. Camille walked from behind the stage carrying a canvas tool bag embroidered with my studio logo. She overturned it on the gift table. Chisels, cotton gloves, pigment jars, and restoration brushes rolled across the linen. The emerald necklace struck the wood with a bright metallic sound. The venue driver found this in her workshop, Camille cried. She stole it after all. Guests surged forward. Rosa gripped my elbow. April, she whispered. Look at the center stone. A thin fracture crossed the emerald like lightning. They had not planted the replica. They had broken into my studio and placed my mother's original necklace among the tools I used to earn my living. I did the one thing none of them expected. I smiled. Thank you for bringing back the original, I said. Camille's fingers tightened around the empty tool bag. Monica's chin jerked toward her. What are you talking about? Camille asked. I did not touch the necklace. I pointed from a careful distance. The center stone has a fracture. It appears in my mother's insurance inventory and in photographs going back 25 years. The necklace you wore yesterday had no fracture because it was a replica. If that is the real necklace, explain how your driver entered a locked studio whose access code changed last night. Murmurs spread through the room. Rodrigo stepped away from Camille. Monica recovered first. Listen to her. She knows the marks because she has obsessed over that jewelry since childhood. I know them because I am a professional conservator. I also know you had the original repaired 4 days ago. Rosa lifted the receipt. Lucia had moved to a side wall and was broadcasting from her phone now, beyond the cut cable. Maya quietly instructed guests not to handle anything on the table. Ethan came down from the stage. April, stop. Did you enter my studio this morning? He hesitated. It is a marital business, he said at last. I went to collect property that belongs to me. My security log says otherwise. That was a bluff. I had changed the code after he left, but I had not yet checked the previous night's physical lock. His eyes shifted toward Monica anyway, and the room noticed. Lucia's video began playing on dozens of phones. Ethan's recorded voice floated between the tables. Once the scene starts, I'll take April back to the hotel. She signs the sale authorization while she's scared. Rodrigo looked at his wife. A copy? You planned an accusation during our wedding? Camille's face emptied. It isn't what it sounds like. It sounds like your mother asked you which necklace to wear, and you answered. April has hated us forever. Mom was trying to protect me. From what? I asked. Owning a house that was never yours? The rear doors opened. 2 Napa County Sheriff's deputies entered with the venue manager. Monica's expression relaxed. Thank God, she said. That is the woman who assaulted me and stole the necklace. Maya stepped between me and the deputies before I could speak. I represent Ms. Salazar. There is evidence of a staged theft, unlawful entry, extortion, and an attempted fraudulent property transfer. Nothing on that table should be moved until it is photographed and logged. The older deputy, Sergeant Bell, looked tired rather than impressed by anyone's money. We received a theft complaint this morning and video of an altercation. Miss Salazar, I need you to keep your hands visible and come speak with us outside. I obeyed. Guests filmed me walking between the deputies. Monica did not need handcuffs to complete the image she wanted. By sunset, a 14-second clip of me catching her wrist and sending her into the glass tower had been posted by a lifestyle blogger at the wedding. The caption read, "Bride stepsister attacks mother over $2 million necklace." It reached 300,000 views before the sheriff finished interviewing me. The complete footage showed Monica grabbing me first, but the angle was partially blocked by flowers. Ethan signed a statement claiming I had threatened to ruin Camille's wedding. Camille claimed she saw the necklace in my purse before I hid it. Monica produced photographs of the necklace inside my studio bag, timestamped 8:06 that morning. The photographs proved someone had been in my studio. They did not prove who. Maya persuaded Sergeant Bell not to arrest me that afternoon. I surrendered my passport, agreed to appear for a formal interview, and watched a deputy seal my mother's necklace in an evidence envelope. The necklace had been missing for 22 years, and the first time I stood 3 feet from it, the law carried it away. Outside the sheriff's station, 4 reporters waited. Maya guided me through a side exit. "Do not mistake their bad evidence for no danger," she said in the car. "The public accusation, the planted property, and the edited assault clip create probable cause if a prosecutor wants it. Our video helps, but Monica will say it records a discussion taken out of context. We need authentication, access records, and the trust." She announced the house as a gift. "And while you were being interviewed, her attorney filed for an emergency order claiming you are mentally unstable and threatening the occupants. A judge temporarily barred you from entering Elena House." I stared at her. She accused me of stealing my own necklace and used it to keep me out of my own home. "For 10 days, unless we defeat it sooner." The cruelty of it was almost elegant. Monica understood that most thefts did not require a forged deed. Sometimes you only needed to exhaust the owner until she signed one willingly. The next morning, 2 clients paused restoration contracts with my studio. A museum committee delayed a commission. Anonymous messages called me a thief, a jealous spinster, and an animal. Someone threw a green glass bead through the studio mail slot. Ethan sent a single email. "Sign the separation agreement and the house authorization. Monica will correct the story publicly." Attached was a 32-page document. Buried on page 19 was an admission that I had experienced episodes of paranoia and aggression, and had voluntarily transferred control of Elena House to Hart Family Holdings for my own protection. On page 27, Ethan received a $480,000 consulting fee after the property sale. Maya read it and said, "This is not a settlement. It is a confession they wrote for you." I forwarded it to Sergeant Bell. For 2 days, nothing moved fast enough. Truth in real life did not arrive with background music. It came through voicemail, public records requests, bank statements, and people asking for extensions. I sat beneath the white work lights with Rosa and Lucia while we built a timeline across the longest table in my studio. At 9:10 on the morning of the wedding, Monica collected the repaired original from Mercer and Lane Jewelers. At 11:35, Camille entered the bridal suite wearing the replica. At 3:22, she removed it behind the curtain. At 4:08, Monica accused me. At 4:16, I left the terrace. At 7:42, while I was driving toward my studio, a motion sensor near the rear door activated. I had no camera at that door. I had considered installing one and decided the expense could wait. "Maybe the brewery across the alley does," Lucia said. It did. The image was grainy, but at 7:41 Ethan's silver SUV entered the alley. A man of his height left the vehicle carrying the blue folder and used a physical key at my rear door. At 8:03, he returned with my canvas tool bag. The next morning at 7:58, the same SUV came back. This time Camille sat in the passenger seat. The brewery owner gave the original file directly to Sergeant Bell. That was the first crack in Monica's machine. The second came from the jeweler. Owen Mercer remembered Monica because she had demanded same-day service and paid cash for a lab-created duplicate center stone. His invoice separated 2 jobs, repairing Elena's original necklace and fitting a costume replica supplied by Camille. His counter camera showed Monica collecting both velvet boxes. The serial number on the repair envelope matched my mother's inventory. "She told me the damaged necklace was for insurance photographs," Owen said in a recorded statement. She said the bride would wear the copy because the original was too valuable. By then, the district attorney's investigator had joined Sergeant Bell. The social media clips remained online, but the sheriff's office issued a brief statement that the ownership and reported theft of the necklace were under active review. It was not vindication. It was the first official sentence that did not assume Monica was telling the truth. On the third evening, Rodrigo came to my studio alone. His wedding ring was gone. He looked as if he had not slept since the ceremony. "I should have stopped the brunch when I heard the recording," he said. "You had known me for 2 hours. I had known Camille for 4 years. That is worse." He placed his phone on the table. The Vega family's wedding videographer had filmed a continuous wide shot of the terrace. In the corner of the frame, before Monica approached me, Ethan could be seen nodding to the lifestyle blogger who later posted the edited clip. The blogger moved into position beside the glass tower 20 seconds before Monica grabbed my purse. "My brother also heard Camille arguing with her mother the night before the wedding," Rodrigo said. "Camille wanted the house, but she did not want police involved. Monica told her there would be no marriage unless she followed through." "Are you defending her?" "No. I am trying to understand how the woman I married could cry in my arms while framing someone." I understood that question too well. Rodrigo gave Maya a copy of the full wedding video and consented to an interview. Before he left, he looked at the walnut frame still sitting on my desk. Security had returned it after emptying my purse. "You made that for her?" "It contains a photograph of our father walking us to school. I thought she might want proof that we were sisters before our mothers taught us to compete. I think she wanted the house more. That does not make the frame a mistake." He nodded slowly. "No. It makes her choice one." At 11:30 that night, an unknown number called. "Do not hang up," Camille said. "Why not?" "Because Mom is blaming me for everything. She told the investigator the replica was my idea and that Ethan planted the necklace without her knowledge." "Was the replica your idea?" Silence answered before she did. "I found a costume jeweler online," she whispered. "But Mom planned the accusation. Ethan planned the papers. I thought you would sign and leave. I did not think anyone would arrest you." The distinction was so obscene that I almost laughed. "You thought losing my mother's house and being branded a thief was acceptable as long as I slept in my own bed afterward? You always had everything. My mother died when I was 14. And everyone treated that like the greatest tragedy in the world. Dad spent our whole childhood apologizing to a dead woman. Mom spent every holiday proving she belonged in a house full of Elena's ghosts. I was the bride, and people still whispered that the necklace looked better on your mother." For the first time, I heard the real shape of Camille's jealousy. She did not want one object or one building. She wanted my grief to stop giving me a place in a family that had tried to erase me. "What do you want?" I asked. "Tell Rodrigo I was pressured. Tell the investigator Mom controlled it. I can give you the group messages. I will not trade lies. For evidence. Then she will destroy all of us. She already tried. Send the messages to your attorney and tell the truth under oath." "Will you forgive me?" "No," she began to cry, not like the bride on the terrace, but with small, breathless sounds. For a moment I saw the 10-year-old who used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms. I also saw the woman who had poured my tools onto a table and called me a criminal. "Telling the truth is not a payment for forgiveness," I said. "It is the minimum cost of becoming someone you can live with." I ended the call. By noon the next day, Camille's attorney delivered 184 pages of messages. The thread was named housewarming. Monica assigned roles. Ethan would bring the sale documents and remove me from the reception. Camille would claim the necklace disappeared after I passed the bridal suite. The blogger would film the altercation. Monica would provoke physical contact. If I refused to sign that night, Ethan would enter my studio with the spare key he had secretly copied and plant the original necklace. One message from Ethan read, "She always folds once people think she is difficult." Another from Monica read, "Then make sure everyone thinks it." The messages were the third crack, wide enough for light. Ethan came to the studio that afternoon. Maya had advised me not to meet him alone, so Rosa remained in the finishing room and Lucia recorded from behind the interior window. He looked exhausted and frightened. For years, I had confused his gentleness with goodness. Now I saw that gentleness was simply the voice he used when consequences belonged to someone else. "Monica lied about the contract," he said. "The resort group never guaranteed my fee. She used a draft letter to make me think the design commission was mine. You framed me for a job you did not even have. I made a terrible decision. You made dozens of decisions. You copied my key. You read my email. You helped provoke an assault. You drove into the alley. You carried my tools out. You photographed my mother's necklace in my bag. Which one was the terrible decision?" He lowered his head. "I did not know Monica was going to give police the photos. You keep describing the point where the cruelty became inconvenient for you. I can testify against her. If we present a united front, the prosecutor may treat us both as victims. We are not both victims. He reached across the table. I moved my hand before he could touch it. April, I was tired of being the husband whose projects stayed on paper while your business grew. Every dinner with your family, Monica asked when I would build something important. She said Elena House could be the project that changed my career. I started believing you were keeping it empty just to keep everyone beneath your grief. The house was not empty. Monica lived there. You know what I mean. Yes. You wanted me to surrender the one thing you could not claim credit for. His eyes filled. In another life, tears from my husband would have rearranged my entire body around his pain. Was any of our marriage real? I asked. Most of it. That answer hurt more than a denial. He had loved me when love was easy and betrayed me when betrayal looked profitable. The good years did not cancel the wedding. The wedding revealed the price he had placed on them. Give your statement to the investigator, I said. Maya will send divorce papers to your attorney. You are ending everything because of Monica. No. I am ending it because when she raised her hand to me, you already knew why. He left his copied studio key on the table. That evening, Maya received a call from Sacramento. Adeline Wynne was alive. We drove to see her the next morning. Adeline lived in a narrow brick house filled with legal books and African violets. At 78, she had silver hair cut to her chin and eyes that missed nothing. When she saw me, she touched my face with both hands. You have Elena's stubborn mouth, she said. Monica told everyone you were dead. She tried hard enough to make me professionally disappear. Adeline brought a fireproof case from a closet. Inside was the complete Salazar Family Preservation Trust, a sealed letter in my mother's handwriting, and annual correspondence, showing that Adeline had sent notices to my father until his death. Afterward, Monica returned every certified letter marked unknown recipient. The trust was clearer than any memory. Elena had placed the house and its land beyond my father's ownership. He received a lifetime right of occupancy. If he died before I turned 30, his surviving spouse could remain temporarily, but that privilege ended immediately if the spouse attempted to sell, demolish, encumber, conceal, or claim ownership of the property or any trust asset. Monica's public gift to Camille had not moved the house. It had terminated Monica's right to sleep there. There is more, Adeline said. Your mother anticipated that someone might pressure you. Any transfer signed under a claim of incapacity required independent review by the trustee and 60 days' notice. No buyer could receive clean title from the authorization. Ethan brought you. Then why did they need my signature? To frighten title insurance into treating the trust as disputed while they pushed a demolition permit through a shell company. They did not need a valid sale forever. They needed it to look valid long enough to destroy the house. Maya opened her laptop. A county filing had appeared that morning. Hart Family Holdings claimed equitable control of Elena House and requested emergency removal of the carriage building as an unsafe structure. The hearing was scheduled for Friday. Attached was an affidavit bearing my electronic signature. I had never seen it. Adeline looked from the forged document to me. Your mother built the trust to stop a thief. She could not build the courage you would need to face one. She placed the sealed letter in my hands. Elena told me to give this to you when you could defend the house without asking anyone's permission. I wanted to tear it open. Instead, I held it against my chest. Not yet, I said. I want to read it inside her home. Maya filed the trust with the court that afternoon. Sergeant Bell sent the forged affidavit to the district attorney's fraud unit. The county refused to cancel Friday's public hearing because Hart Family Holdings had already paid for notices and invited press to a separate investor presentation. Immediately afterward, Monica was still planning to stand in public and call my mother's house hers. This time, I was going to let her finish. The county hearing room was full by 8:30 Friday morning. Monica had invited investors, preservation bloggers, and a local television crew to what she called the unveiling of Elena Legacy Villas. A rendering on an easel showed my mother's house replaced by 18 glass cottages, an infinity pool, and a tasting pavilion. The only original feature left in the image was the line of olive trees, trimmed into obedient shapes. I watched from the hallway monitor with Maya, Adeline, Rosa, and Lucia. Sergeant Bell stood farther back with an investigator from the district attorney's office. We had agreed that the legal evidence should enter the public record before any criminal action interrupted the presentation. Monica wore navy blue and no bandage. She spoke with grave warmth about preserving local history. My late husband and I protected this neglected property for decades, she told the commissioners. Unfortunately, his daughter April has experienced a serious emotional crisis. She signed management authority to our family company before becoming involved in a theft and assault investigation. We are asking permission to remove a dangerous workshop before someone is injured. On the screen behind her appeared a photograph of the carriage building taken after a winter storm. The image had been cropped so tightly that the fallen tree beside it looked as if it had crushed the roof. It had not. I had repaired that roof 6 months earlier. One commissioner asked whether the owner supported demolition. April is not well enough to appear, Monica said, lowering her eyes. This has been heartbreaking for all of us. Maya touched my arm. Now. I entered the room. Camera operators swung toward me. Monica stopped speaking, but only for a breath. As you can see, she said, we are dealing with unpredictable behavior. My name is April Salazar, I told the commissioners. I am the sole beneficiary and current owner of Elena House. I oppose demolition, I never authorized Hart Family Holdings to manage it, and the signature in your file was forged. Maya submitted certified copies of the trust, the recorded property memorandum, the electronic signature audit, and our emergency court order recognizing Adeline as trustee. Each commissioner received a binder. The county attorney read the first page, then leaned toward the chair and whispered. Monica gripped the podium. That trust was replaced by Richard's will. Adeline walked to the witness table. Richard could not devise property he never owned. I drafted the trust for Elena Salazar in 1999. I have the original, annual notices, and proof that Mrs. Hart returned them after Richard's death. The chair looked at Monica. Did you disclose this trust in your application? I had reason to believe it was invalid. You certified that no other ownership claim existed. Because April abandoned that house. I maintained it. I paid taxes. I cared for her father. Occupancy is not ownership, Maya said. The trust gave Mrs. Hart a temporary privilege to remain. Section 11 ends that privilege upon any attempted sale, demolition, encumbrance, concealment, or appropriation. Her own application triggered every listed condition. For the first time in my life, Monica looked small behind a piece of furniture. She turned toward the investors. This is a family disagreement being weaponized by a jealous woman. April attacked me at her sister's wedding because she stole an heirloom and was caught. Let's address the heirloom, I said. Lucia connected a laptop to the county system. Unlike the vineyard screen, no one in Monica's family controlled the cable. The first image showed my mother wearing the necklace, its fractured center emerald enlarged beside the inventory serial number. The next showed Camille at the wedding wearing a flawless replica. Then came Owen Mercer's invoice and security footage of Monica collecting 2 velvet boxes. The room became completely quiet when Lucia played the bridal suite recording. Once the scene starts, I'll take April back to the hotel. She signs the sale authorization while she's scared. Ethan's voice sounded colder through government speakers than it had on my phone. Monica stepped away from the podium. That recording is illegal and edited. The photographer's original file and metadata have been examined by the district attorney, Maya said. The full file is included, along with the group messages and the brewery footage showing Ethan entering April's studio. Monica scanned the audience as if searching for someone. Where is my daughter? The side door opened. Camille entered with her attorney. She wore no makeup, and without the wedding machinery around her she looked younger than 34. Rodrigo sat in the last row but did not move toward her. Camille did not look at me. She looked at the commissioners. The replica was my idea, she said. My mother planned the accusation and told Ethan when to plant the original. I participated. I have given investigators the messages and passwords. Monica's face hardened. You ungrateful little coward. Camille flinched, and I saw years of obedience in that single movement. You said April would sign, she replied. You said no one would get hurt. She has spent her whole life hurting us by acting like Elena was a saint. The polished public voice was gone now. Monica pointed at me. Her mother filled that house with sickness and guilt. I was the one Richard came to when Elena could barely leave her bed. I gave him a life. I raised both girls. I kept that property from collapsing. It should have been mine. My body understood the confession before my mind formed words. You were with my father while my mother was alive, I said. Monica lifted her chin. Your father chose the living. He was tired of a room full of medicine and a child who cried every time he tried to breathe. The cruelty reached me, but it did not enter me. I had feared some version of that truth since I was 14. Hearing it in full did not make my mother smaller. It revealed how long Monica had needed Elena to be diminished before she could feel chosen. Adeline rose. Elena knew about the affair. That is why she protected the house before she died. Monica stared at her. She also knew Richard was weak, Adeline continued. She did not punish him. She gave him a home for life. She even allowed his future spouse temporary occupancy so April would not be dragged through a second loss while she was young. Your comfort existed because the woman you despise showed you mercy. Monica's hand closed around a water glass. For an instant I thought she would throw it. Instead, she set it down so hard that it cracked. "This hearing is over," the chair said. "The demolition request is denied. The county is referring the application and signature record for criminal review." The investors began collecting their papers. One of them asked Monica's attorney whether Hart Family Holdings had any assets besides disputed claims. The attorney did not answer. Ethan stood from the second row. I had not seen him enter. "I signed the theft statement," he said. "I copied April's key and planted the necklace. Monica directed the timing, but I did it voluntarily." Monica laughed once, sharp and empty. "You came begging for a career. Do not pretend I forced you." "I'm not." He looked at me. "I am telling the truth." I believed that he was telling it then. It did not restore anything. The district attorney's investigator approached Monica with Sergeant Bell. They did not create a dramatic spectacle. They asked her to step into the hallway to discuss the forged filing and possible witness tampering. When she tried to push past them, the camera captured her losing the control. She had spent a lifetime using as proof of innocence. Reporters surrounded me. Maya said I would provide a written statement later. Rosa took one side of me and Lucia the other, and together we walked through the crowd. Rodrigo met Camille near the exit. She reached for him. "I told the truth," she said. "After you ran out of lies," he answered. "We can get counseling. We can start over." He removed a small envelope from his jacket. "These are annulment papers. You did not just ruin a wedding, Camille. You used our wedding as a weapon." She folded over as if he had struck her, but he did not touch her. He walked away. Outside, Ethan waited at the bottom of the courthouse steps. "I'll accept whatever happens," he said. "I want you to know I loved you." "I know." His surprise made me sad. "That is what makes it worse," I continued. "You did not betray a stranger. You betrayed someone you loved because you believed she would absorb it. Is there any chance, after time?" "No, you sound very sure." "I finally am." He returned the key to our apartment. I held it until he walked away, then gave it to Maya as evidence of nothing except an ending. The emergency order against me was dissolved that afternoon. At sunset, I returned to Elena House with Adeline, Rosa, and Lucia. A locksmith changed every exterior lock while a court officer supervised Monica's removal of personal necessities. She had 30 days to inventory the rest under the trustee's direction. She passed me in the front hall carrying one suitcase. "You think a building means your mother won," she said. "No. I think you spent 22 years fighting a woman who was not here, and she still made the kinder choice." Monica looked toward the portrait she had hidden in an upstairs closet. Rosa had placed it back above the hall table. "My mother was laughing in the photograph." "You will end up alone in this mausoleum," Monica said. "Alone is not the same as owned." She left without another word. I carried Adeline's sealed letter into the old carriage workshop. Dust floated through bars of evening light. Beneath tarps, I found my mother's workbench, her wooden clamps, and jars labeled in her rounded handwriting. Monica had lied about moisture destroying everything. She had simply locked the room and waited for me to stop asking. I sat on the floor and opened the letter. "My dearest April, if you are reading this, someone has tried to make you feel selfish for protecting what I left you. They may say a house is only wood, land, and expense. They will be partly right. The value is not in keeping every wall unchanged. The value is in knowing that your voice deserves a roof. I made mistakes. I stayed quiet when truth might have freed us both. Do not inherit my silence. Do not let my absence persuade you that you are less lovable, less reasonable, or less real than the people who speak over you. Repair what can be repaired. Release what cannot. Make this house useful to the living." I read those lines 3 times. Then I cried with my head against the workbench, not because Monica had won or because Ethan had left, but because my mother had understood the exact prison I would build from politeness. The legal cases took 8 months. There was no single perfect punishment, only consequences accumulating where immunity used to be. Monica pleaded no contest to attempted grand theft, filing a false instrument, and conspiracy after investigators traced payments to the blogger and found draft demolition contracts on her computer. She received supervised probation, 9 months in county custody, restitution, and a prohibition against acting as a fiduciary or real estate manager. Ethan pleaded to burglary and conspiracy, surrendered his architecture license pending professional review, and agreed to testify. Camille's cooperation earned her a reduced charge and community service, but Rodrigo completed the annulment. She wrote me 6 letters. I answered one, "I hope you build a life that does not require someone else to be humiliated." I did not invite her back into mine. My divorce was final the following spring. Ethan asked for no share of Elena House after Maya showed his attorney the trust and the attempted transfer messages. He took the condo furniture. I kept the studio, my name, and the strange peace of no longer waiting for him to choose me in public. For weeks, Elena House smelled of cedar dust, damp plaster, and fresh paint. Rosa uncovered my mother's recipe box. Lucia photographed every restored room. Adeline brought African violets for the library. I sold none of the land. I also refused to turn the house into a museum of pain. The carriage building became a cooperative workshop for women rebuilding careers after divorce, caregiving, illness, or financial abuse. We taught frame restoration, upholstery, ceramics, bookkeeping, and product photography. The front rooms hosted legal clinics twice a month. Over the entrance, I hung a simple sign, Elena House, Craft and Memory. The emerald necklace never returned to anyone's throat. After the criminal case ended, I placed it in a climate-controlled case beside my mother's letter and the photograph of her laughing in the courtyard. The fracture in the center stone remained visible. I stopped seeing it as damage. It was the mark that separated the real thing from a perfect lie. One evening, almost a year after the wedding, Lucia and I closed the workshop after a class. Bougainvillea climbed the courtyard wall, and light glowed from every window Monica had once kept shuttered. "Do you regret going to the wedding?" Lucia asked. I thought of the purse emptied before strangers, the red punch on Monica's dress, Ethan's voice in the mirror, and the original necklace striking the gift table. I thought of how close I had come to signing because being publicly hated felt more frightening than being privately robbed. "No," I said. "I regret how long I needed them to admit what they were doing before I believed myself." I locked the courtyard gate and stood beneath the olive trees. I had no husband, no perfect family, and no reserved seat at the tables of people who had watched me be accused. I had something better, my mother's house full of living voices, my work under my own name, and a silence that belonged to evening rather than fear. Monica tried to turn me into a thief in front of 200 people. Camille tried to wear my inheritance as a wedding gift. Ethan tried to trade my sanity for a building contract. In the end, all three lost the only power they had ever truly held over me, my terror of being left alone. Inside Elena House, the cracked emerald caught the last light and held it.